Super Mario 3D World versus Super Mario Odyssey. Which one is the better 3D Mario game? Let's find out. Hey, what's up you guys, this is SGB618 here, and today I'm going to be putting Super Mario 3D World up against Super Mario Odyssey to see which game is the best. 3D World is in my top 3 favourite Wii U games, and it's made me so happy to see it come over to the Switch. Even though this is a very point A to point B type of Mario game, I know I'm probs in the minority here, but it's probably my favourite Mario game in that structure. Mario Odyssey is just everything you'd want from a Mario sandbox game. This game is so much fun and it's very cool and slightly different to the typical Mario adventure. As always, this video is based entirely on my opinion and my opinion only, so please don't take offense if I say anything that you don't agree with. There is no right or wrong answer to this comparison video, and I think that both games are really good and both worth your time. Picking a winner for this video was no easy task. But without further ado, let's just go straight into it. So both games are 3D Mario experiences, and both games use Mario's 3D controls. Well, with 3D World it includes Luigi, Peach, Toad and Rosalina's movesets as well. 3D World's controls are surprisingly quite fun to use, especially when the power-ups are applied like the cat suit. The 4 characters advertised for this game carry over their special abilities from Super Mario Bros. 2, which is really cool. Luigi can jump the highest, Peach can float in the air for a short time, which is the most useful ability for me personally. Toad can run the fastest but has the worst jump out of all the characters, and Mario is useless. Even Rosalina has her own ability, which is the spin jump. I think Rosalina definitely would have been the best character if it wasn't for her poor speed. But this is what I like about the ability side to the characters, there's a trade-off. Apart from Mario, who has no special abilities at all for some reason, the characters have their strengths and weaknesses and they have different uses as well. Kinda like the different types in the Pokemon games. There is no broken character. You can pick whoever character is most useful to you. So this is very nice to see, even from a platformer where there's no broken characters to disrupt the gameplay, unlike something like a fighting game. And it's really cool to see that there's a good balancing in 3D World overall. On the other hand, Mario Odyssey only has Mario as a playable character, so that must mean that it's not fun, right? You couldn't be more wrong. Don't get it twisted, Mario still controls very well on his own, but Cappy absolutely changes the playing field. You can basically parkour to your heart's content and do some really impressive tricks with Mario and other objects in the game. But here's the thing, who needs a small character roster when you can take control of almost anything in the game? Cappy gives Mario the ability to hop into the brain of a character, allowing the player to take control of said character. Just for the record, you can do this as much as you want throughout the game. There's no limit or anything restricting you from capturing enemies or objects. Not only do I completely forget about power-ups whilst playing a Mario game, which by the way is a very big deal, but I also couldn't care less about playing as multiple characters from the previous Mario adventure. That's how great the controls and mechanics are in Odyssey. Don't get me wrong, playing as Cat Peach is fun, but I'm sorry, this doesn't even compare to Mario and Cappy. However, one thing that definitely is comparable to Odyssey is the music. Music is a very important element to a game for me. It can make the experience a million times better or a million times worse. I've always loved 3D World soundtrack and I think I prefer it slightly over Odyssey. I just love the catchy melodies and the jazzy flair to them. I also really like how some songs have a mix of both live instruments and electronic sounds. It works so well and it really makes the experience much more enjoyable. This and Galaxy 1 probs have my favourite Mario soundtracks in the series, if you're talking about main series games. This doesn't mean that Mario Odyssey has a trash soundtrack or anything, I still very much enjoy it. I just prefer 3D World's approach to the music. They're like more catchy themes and something to motivate you to continue to play the levels. But with Odyssey, it's a lot more atmospheric and something to listen to in the background whilst you explore, rather than something you're raving to during gameplay. I still do think that this approach is good because it keeps the player immersed and focused on the adventure side of things. Obviously there are a few exceptions here and there, but I always prefer catchy and melodic songs to slap onto levels because that's just my personal preference. But there are 2 songs specifically in Odyssey that do follow the 3D world mold, if you want to call it that, which is Metro Kingdom and Jump Up Superstar. Everything I described about 3D World's music is right here in Metro Kingdom, more specifically the main Metro Kingdom theme and Jump Up Superstar. Sometimes music can send your mind to places, and this is definitely the case here. One of my YouTube inspirations was Alex C&D, and he produced perhaps my favourite vlog series on YouTube, which was waiting in line for Mario Odyssey for 10 days. Every time I hear the Metro Kingdom theme or Jump Up Superstar, it reminds me of those videos and reminds me of how much I love Nintendo games. It's weird, isn't it? I wasn't even in those videos, but I can just imagine Alex waiting in line at the Nintendo NY store for Odyssey with a bunch of other Nintendo fans all smiling. Nintendo really nailed these songs and are definitely some of my favourite Mario themes. Still prefer 3D World soundtrack though. Anyway, so it's great that these games have great controls, great mechanics and music, but none of that matters if the levels and pacing of the games are bad. Mario Odyssey's pacing and levels are really good. As you progress through the game, it becomes obvious that challenges, obstacles and kingdoms in general are getting harder. This is especially impressive when you consider the fact that each world in this game feels completely different from each other. No kingdom feels the same. This leads to a playthrough that never feels repetitive or samey. This unfortunately isn't the case with 3D World, despite having world in the title of the game ironically. My days, do they recycle a lot of elements. Even though I really love the music to 3D World, as I said, by the time my playthrough is done, I've probably heard the same themes over and over again because the same level design is used over and over again. Not complaining that the music's still being used, but you kinda get my point, right? A lot of the grassy plain areas, for example, are very samey. Same enemies, same music, same amount of time to beat, etc. If some of these levels were combined to make one big level, that would have been a lot cooler, I think. Mario Odyssey is defo at a bit of an advantage here due to the multiple moon challenges in one level, and that one level being one kingdom. So after you complete one kingdom, it's a lot more satisfying compared to 3D World, where it feels more like a tick box exercise. Done that level? Cool, next one. You see what I mean? Because Odyssey's challenges are grouped together in kingdoms, it makes the challenges feel connected in the areas that they're in. Speaking of Odyssey having better level structure, this game also has the way better bosses. Again, not only is it very cool and exciting to see some fresh faces, but the boss fights all include different mechanics and techniques to beat in them. It's not all just jumping on heads, there's actually some depth to some of these boss fights now. Also, these bosses are very different from each other as well. Obviously the Broodals and Madame Brood are part of the same crew, so they're gonna have similar properties, but each boss in the game doesn't feel copy and pasted at all, and they don't feel reskinned or even reused. Post game aside, I think the only bosses that return later are the Broodals and Bowser, but they're both important to the story, so it makes sense. The Broodals are the wedding planners, so they're gonna need to survive in order to make the wedding for the end boss, and Bowser is Bowser, of course he's gonna come back. It was just really nice to have a change in boss styles and to finally have a Mario game that experiments more and changes things up a bit more. 3D World does introduce some new faces too, but they're very easy and they're really not that different from each other. Like, the majority of the bosses in this game involve you jumping on their heads, or back if you're King Kathunk. I think this is my biggest issue with 3D World, it just doesn't innovate or change much throughout the game. To be honest, what we had at the start was already great, but a lot of the later stuff just feels recycled. This isn't nearly as bad as the new Super Mario Bros series, but this game could have had some newer ideas approaching the end of the game. The post game has some really cool ideas, having a large spacey world, difficult levels and galaxy elements. But even in the post game there are still some recycled levels just spiced up a little bit by having a stricter time limit. Speaking of recycled levels, if you want to beat the game 100%, you have to collect every collectible in the game, which is pretty normal, but then you have to play every level and reach the top of the flagpole as every character. Why? That's so unnecessary. If a game asks me to replay the game as a different character after I already beat it once, I'm playing something else, because that's ridiculous. I said this before, but Mario Odyssey constantly gives the player new challenges and moons to collect, both main game and post game. If you want a 100% Odyssey, okay sure you do have to travel back to previous kingdoms, but they're updated with tons of new moons, challenges, mysteries and areas. Yeah, it's the same location before, but the challenges for the most part are all new and the experience doesn't die out. Plus there's kingdoms to unlock. Mushroom Kingdom, Dark and Darker Side Kingdom literally have their own moons to be collected. Costumes are available to be unlocked by saving up coins and I guess save up money as well so you can buy Mario amiibo. And plus there's even online challenges that encourage the player to get the highest score on a specific game. Mario Odyssey is just stacked with content. If you want to 100% this game, you better schedule your play sessions on a calendar. You just won't get bored because like I said, Mario Odyssey doesn't feel samey or repetitive at all. The majority of the game involves new discoveries, new levels and new challenges. 3D World is an amazing main series Mario game, but Mario Odyssey is an unconventional main series Mario experience. Mario Odyssey is an adventure. You'll find yourself playing more 3D World than Odyssey because of how casual it is and how easy it is to get into. It's a great pick up and play game if you know what I mean. You straight up can't do that with Odyssey because the game is way longer and you just know that you need to get that last power moon or just travel to that last kingdom before you put your controller down. Admittedly, for the longest time I preferred 3D World over Odyssey. I played a lot more of it, I still prefer the music overall, and I loved the new power-ups. But after playing both games back to back, my opinions of both games have changed slightly. Don't get me wrong, I still absolutely love 3D World with its amazing colourful graphics and its 3D Land-esque charm, but I'm gonna have to give this one to Odyssey. I think the best way for me to put it is that 3D World is a fun, feel-good Mario game that you can casually put a few hours into, but Mario Odyssey is a Mario adventure. It's an experience with a ton of Mario Easter eggs, memorabilia, callbacks, etc. and mixing in a modern 3D Mario flavour with seemingly endless challenges and mysteries. This is definitely one of the best 3D platformers of all time. But it's no Galaxy though. But anyway guys, that's going to be the end of today's video, so hopefully you did enjoy it. Please comment down below your thoughts on the points that I made in this video. Did you agree with them? Did you not? And let me know which game you prefer. I'll be very interested to know. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.